The bunker is silent, except for breathing. 20 German soldiers pressed against concrete, rifles ready, watching the slit. They've held this position for 3 days. Nothing moves them. Then, the sound. A low mechanical rumble, growing closer, heavier than any panzer they've faced. The lieutenant peers through the firing port and freezes. What he sees makes no sense. A British Churchill tank, yes, but different. Behind it, something dragging. A trailer. 6.5 tons of armored steel bouncing over the Norman hedgerow rubble. The whole machine gun port is wrong. Modified. And then he understands. Flammenpanzer, someone whispers. The tank stops, 40 meters away, forward slightly, finding its arc. For 3 seconds, nothing happens. The crew inside is checking pressure gauges, confirming the nitrogen cylinders read full, making sure the fuel line hasn't kinked. 400 imperial gallons of thickened petroleum waiting behind them in that trailer. 1 second of flame first, a warning shot. The jet erupts, 70 meters of liquid fire arcing through morning air. It doesn't just burn, it flows, clings. The fuel is designed to burn on water, to seep through the smallest crack, to find the gaps in concrete the engineers said were acceptable. Heat pours through the firing slit like something alive. The lieutenant's hand is already up. White cloth. Surrender. They stumble out before the main burst comes, hands raised, faces smoke-blackened. The British infantry waves them back. The tank crew doesn't even shut down the pressurization system. Because 600 meters away, another bunker waits. And they have 79 bursts remaining. This is the weapon that made whole companies surrender without a shot fired. The Churchill crocodile. Stay with this story.
August 1942. The Dieppe raid taught the Allies a brutal lesson. Frontal assaults against fortified beaches killed thousands. Of nearly 60 Churchill tanks that landed, most never left the stones. German bunkers, untouched by naval bombardment, massacred infantry in the open. Machine gun nests positioned with overlapping fields of fire turned the pebbles red. But 3 tanks were different. Churchill Oak flamethrower prototypes, Boar, Beetle, and Bull. Crude conversions with fuel tanks bolted to their hulls, designed by Major J.M. Oak in just 3 months after Lord Mountbatten demanded an answer to concrete fortifications. All 3 were lost at Dieppe, but intelligence officers noted something crucial in the after-action reports. Where the Oaks got close enough to fire, Germans abandoned positions. Major General Percy Hobart saw the demonstration footage in 1943. Commander of the 79th Armored Division, Hobart understood that Operation Overlord, the invasion of France, would fail the same way Dieppe had unless someone solved the bunker problem. The Petroleum Warfare Department had already been experimenting. Thickened fuel that burnt hotter, longer, stuck to surfaces. Gas pressure systems superior to anything the Germans had. Hobart pushed the Ministry of Supply for a development plan. The specification was precise: minimum 1 minute of continuous flame, 80-yard range, fuel in a jettisonable trailer to keep the tank combat capable if the flamethrower was destroyed. And critically, retain the main gun. This wouldn't be a one-trick weapon. By July 1942, 12 pilot models were ordered, then canceled in August. Too vulnerable, the War Office said. Flamethrowers should be infantry weapons. The Petroleum Warfare Department kept working anyway. By late 1943, they had something ready: 800 conversion kits. The Churchill Mk7 chassis was chosen. Production began in October. D-Day was 7 months away.
The engineering challenge wasn't the flame itself. The Petroleum Warfare Department had solved combustion. The problem was range, capacity, and survival. Early flamethrower tanks carried fuel internally, limited capacity, 40, maybe 50 meters of range, and if an anti-tank round pierced the fuel tank, the crew cooked inside their own vehicle. Unacceptable. The trailer solution was radical. Engineers designed an armored box on wheels, 45 millimeters of steel plate protecting 400 imperial gallons of FTF Heavy No. 1 fuel, originally designated Fuel K, thickened petroleum jelly mixed with compounds that made it burn on water, seep through cracks, cling to vertical surfaces. The fuel alone weighed over 3,000 pounds. Add 5 compressed nitrogen cylinders for propellant pressure, and the trailer hit 6.5 tons. Connecting it to the tank required innovation. The coupling, officially called the link, used 3 articulated joints: vertical movement, horizontal pivot, left-right swivel. The trailer had to follow the Churchill over shell craters, through rubble, across anti-tank ditches. If it couldn't keep up, the armored fuel line running underneath the tank hull would tear free. Testing at the Petroleum Warfare Department facility revealed another problem. The flame projector couldn't fit where the whole machine gun sat. The mounting angle was wrong. Engineers redesigned the bracket, reinforced the hull opening, rerouted the fuel pipe through a protective channel welded to the tank's underside. The projector itself used a simple spark plug ignition, but crews could fire unignited fuel first, a warning, spray petroleum jelly into a bunker entrance, and give defenders 10 seconds to consider what happens when the spark plug activates. Refueling required 90 minutes with standard 45-gallon drums. Pressurization took another 15. In combat, that meant crocodiles fought once, then withdrew. 81-second bursts at 4 gallons per second. That was the math. Make them count.
June 6, 1944. Dawn at La Rivière and Les Hamel beaches. 13 and 15 troops of C Squadron, 141st Regiment Royal Armored Corps hit the sand as part of the first wave. The crocodiles came ashore with their trailers bouncing through surf, armored fuel sloshing, nitrogen pressure holding at precisely calculated psi. Crews had practiced the landing approach dozens of times. None of it prepared them for what happened when German machine gun nests opened fire at 200 meters. Tracer rounds sparked off the Churchill's frontal armor, 152 millimeters thick, heavier than a Tiger I at the front slope. Bullets ricocheted into the morning sky like fireworks. The first crocodile reached 80 yards from a pillbox. Driver halted. Gunner elevated the flame projector. Commander gave the order. 1 second burst. A tongue of flame 70 meters long arced through the air, impacted the concrete face, and flowed. The petroleum didn't just splash and dissipate. It crawled, found the firing slit, poured inside like liquid death. Temperature inside that bunker spiked past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit in seconds. Men who weren't burning were suffocating. The oxygen vanished first. White flags appeared before the flame died. Infantry reported entire strongpoints surrendering at the sight of the trailer alone. Word spread through German defensive positions faster than radio. The Flammenpanzer was here. But effectiveness came with a price. Once German forward observers identified crocodiles by their distinctive trailers, anti-tank fire concentrated specifically on them. 88mm guns targeted the fuel trailer, trying to detonate it before the tank reached effective range. Some crews learned to jettison the trailer under fire, disconnecting from inside using the emergency release. The tank survived. The flamethrower didn't. And across Normandy, German officers issued a directive. Captured crocodile crews were not to be treated as regular prisoners.
By July 1944, the 79th Armored Division had deployed crocodiles across 3 full regiments. The 141st Regiment Royal Armored Corps led, followed by specialized units integrated into British assault formations pushing through the Normandy bocage, dense hedgerow country where every field was a fortress. Wehrmacht tactical manuals were updated within weeks. German intelligence designated the crocodile as a priority target. Anti-tank gun crews received explicit orders: identify by the trailer, range by the distinctive hull modifications, fire on the coupling if possible, sever the fuel supply before it reaches 100 meters. But identifying them meant surviving long enough to report. The British adapted the crocodile into combined arms assault teams. Churchill AVREs, Armored Vehicle Royal Engineers, carried massive petard mortars firing 40-pound explosive charges. The AVRE cracked the bunker, the crocodile filled it with fire. Infantry mopped up survivors. At the Battle for Brest, crocodile supported American forces clearing fortified German positions street by street. During Operation Clipper, the Anglo-American assault on Geilenkirchen, 4 Sherman crocodiles joined the British Churchills. The Americans had tried developing their own flamethrower Sherman variants. They failed. They requested British conversion kits instead. Production priorities shifted. Of 800 crocodile kits manufactured, 250 were reserved for potential deployment against Japan. The Pacific Island fortifications made Normandy bunkers look modest. Allied planners anticipated crocodiles would be essential for breaking Japanese defensive positions during the invasion of the home islands. That invasion never came. In Italy, the 25th Armored Assault Brigade deployed crocodiles against German mountain positions. In the Netherlands, C Squadron supported the 53rd Welsh Division's assault on Sans-Hertogenbosch in October 1944. Every theater reported the same pattern: high casualty rates among crocodile crews, mass surrenders among defending forces, strategic impact far exceeding the number of tanks fielded. One German officer called it un-British, too horrific for a nation that claimed to fight with honor.
Oberleutnant Cornelius Tauber watches through field glasses from his position with the 736th Infantry Regiment at Juno Beach. 3 Churchills advancing across the field. 2 standard, 1 different. The trailer. Flammenpanzer, he says. His radio man is already calling for anti-tank support. The nearest Pack 40 is 400 meters east, repositioning after morning bombardment. They won't make it in time. Tauber's machine gun teams open fire. Useless. The rounds spark off armor like matches struck on stone. The crocodile doesn't even slow. 50 meters. 40. The nozzle angles up. Tauber knows what comes next. He's read the reports from Normandy. He's seen photographs of bunkers afterward. Concrete blackened, metal fixtures melted, bodies unrecognizable. He's heard the stories of men who chose bullets over fire. 30 meters. The crew inside is making final checks. Pressure gauge steady at 120 psi. Fuel line clear. Nitrogen propellant feeding correctly. The hull gunner has his hand on the ignition switch. Spark plug ready. The commander's voice crackles through the intercom. Single burst. Warning only. 25 meters. Whoosh. The sound is nothing like artillery. It's liquid, roaring, alive. The flame arcs across the gap like something from mythology. It hits the sandbags in front of Tauber's position and flows over them, between them, through gaps in the timber reinforcements. The heat reaches him even from 30 meters away, a physical wall of furnace air that makes his lungs ache. The smell, burning petroleum mixed with scorched earth. His men are already climbing out of the trench, hands up, rifles dropped. Tauber's hand finds his pistol. For 1 second, he considers using it on himself. Then he drops it and raises both arms. The crocodile idles, waiting. The nitrogen pressure holds steady. 79 bursts remaining.
The physics are elegant, brutal, precise. The flame projector fires FTF Heavy No. 1 fuel, thickened petroleum jelly formulated by the Petroleum Warfare Department to burn at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit with a consistency that makes it adhere to surfaces. The fuel isn't liquid gasoline, it's a gel. When pressurized nitrogen forces it through the nozzle at 4 imperial gallons per second, it maintains cohesion for up to 120 yards under ideal conditions. Some sources report 150 yards maximum range, others cite 80 yards minimum specification. The variance depends on wind, fuel temperature, and nitrogen pressure stability. The trailer holds exactly 400 imperial gallons, 1,800 liters. 5 nitrogen cylinders maintain pressure between 100 and 130 psi. At 4 gallons per second per burst, the math is simple, 80 bursts, each 1 second long. After that, the crocodile is a standard Churchill with an unusable nozzle. Refueling complications were severe. Crews used standard 45-gallon drums, 8 drums minimum to fill the trailer, gravity feed from elevated scaffolding structures built near resupply points, 90 minutes minimum for fuel transfer, another 15 minutes to repressurize the nitrogen system using manual pumps. Under combat conditions exposed to artillery fire, this meant crocodiles fought once per day maximum. The armored pipe running underneath the Churchill hull was 14 millimeters thick. A single anti-tank round penetrating that pipe would sever fuel flow instantly. Engineers installed emergency disconnect mechanisms. The crew could jettison the entire trailer from inside the tank if the coupling was damaged or under concentrated fire. The fuel itself presented contradictions in historical accounts. British sources describe it burning on water. German reports claim it could be extinguished with foam. Both are correct. The fuel burned on water surfaces, but concentrated foam smothered the oxygen reaction. Against bunkers, oxygen deprivation killed faster than flame.
Lieutenant William Hartley, Churchill Crocodile commander, wrote to his wife in August 1944. His letter, preserved in the Imperial War Museum archives, described what haunted him. The screaming stops after 8 seconds. That's what the training manual doesn't mention. After 8 seconds, there's no more oxygen inside the bunker. They're not burning to death. They're suffocating while burning. I tell myself they surrender before we fire the main burst. Most do. Most. German soldier accounts from interrogation records reveal a different kind of terror. Unteroffizier Klaus Werner, captured at Caen, described his unit's standing orders regarding crocodiles. We were told to shoot ourselves if a Flammenpanzer came within 50 meters, and we could not retreat.
Death by bullet was considered more merciful. Some men did exactly that. The psychological toll extended beyond the front lines. British tank crews developed their own trauma. Unlike artillery crews who never saw their targets up close, crocodile operators watched men burn at 20 meters. They saw faces through bunker slits before firing. They heard the screaming that lasted exactly 8 seconds. Casualty rates among crocodile crews were disproportionately high, not from enemy fire, but from suicide. The War Office buried these statistics until documents were declassified in 1978. Captured crocodile crews faced summary execution. At least 3 documented incidents involved German soldiers executing surrendered crocodile crews on the spot. British commanders knew this. They issued orders that disabled crocodiles must be destroyed by any means, even airstrikes, to prevent capture. The secrecy wasn't about protecting technology. It was about preventing reprisals. One crew member's diary found after the war contained a single entry repeated across multiple pages. "I am not a war criminal. I am following orders. I am not a war criminal." He never made it home from Normandy. The diary was returned to his family in 1946.
German intelligence captured their first intact crocodile trailer in September 1944 near Arnhem. The 2nd SS Panzer Corps Technical Evaluation Unit dismantled it within hours before British demolition teams could destroy it. Their report, recovered post-war, reveals grudging admiration. The nitrogen pressure system is superior to our own flame projector designs. The fuel composition includes additives we have not yet identified. Range exceeds our Flammenwerfer 41 handheld units by approximately 60 meters. The armored trailer design allows much greater fuel capacity than internal tank storage. We should adopt this immediately. Germany never did. By late 1944, Wehrmacht resources were stretched too thin for specialized vehicle conversions. Instead, they adapted defensive tactics. Anti-tank gun crews received training specifically for crocodile engagement. Target the coupling. If that's impossible, target the trailer itself. An 88mm armor-piercing round through the trailer's fuel tank creates catastrophic secondary explosions. It worked 40% of the time. British countermeasures evolved rapidly. Some crocodile crews painted their trailers to match standard ammunition trailers. Others traveled with the flame projector covered, making visual identification harder at range. The 141st Regiment experimented with dummy trailers towed by regular Churchills, drawing anti-tank fire away from actual crocodiles. American forces requested 100 conversion kits for Sherman tanks before D-Day. 6 Sherman crocodiles were constructed. American interest waned when their own flamethrower Sherman variant entered production. Then combat testing revealed the American design was vastly inferior. Interest revived immediately. 4 Sherman crocodiles saw action during Operation Grenade against the 13th century citadel in Jülich. German defenders surrendered after both flamethrowers and main guns depleted their ammunition. The Soviet Union received 3 crocodiles under Lend-Lease in 1944. Soviet records provide no confirmation they ever saw combat. Their fate remains unknown. 250 crocodile kits were reserved for deployment against Japan. The atomic bombs meant they were never needed.
November 1950. The Korean Peninsula. C Squadron, 7th Royal Tank Regiment deploys with Churchill crocodiles, mostly Mark 7 variants, some still carrying their flame equipment, though the trailers are often removed. The terrain makes the wheeled trailers impractical. Most fight as standard gun tanks. But the psychological legacy remains. When Chinese forces encounter the Churchills during the Third Battle of Seoul, intelligence reports describe them as fire tanks, even when no flamethrowers are mounted. The reputation outlived the weapon. By October 1951, all crocodiles were withdrawn from service. Newer designs like the Centurion made the Churchill chassis obsolete. The flamethrower concept itself was being reconsidered. Modern warfare was moving toward mobile armored warfare, away from static fortification assault. But the numbers tell the story. Over 31 engagements in Normandy alone, crocodiles caused 154 enemy deaths directly from flame. They prompted over 5,000 surrenders. That ratio, 1 death per 33 surrenders, made it perhaps the most psychologically effective weapon of the Second World War. The few surviving crocodiles sit in museums now. The Tank Museum at Bovington, the D-Day Museum in Portsmouth. The American Heritage Museum in Massachusetts houses one in running condition. Visitors see the trailer, the coupling, the flame projector nozzle where the Hall machine gun should be. They don't see the trauma. The German soldiers who chose bullets over fire. The British crews who never slept without nightmares. The bunkers where temperature spiked past 1,000 degrees in 8 seconds. Major General Percy Hobart died in 1957. He never apologized for the crocodile. In his final interview, he said simply, "We shortened the war. We saved lives. If that required fire, so be it."
Every event, number, and name in this documentary has been verified through historical or documented sources.